Who is a celebrity you used to admire, but no longer do, and why? Jared Leto. Used to be a huge 30 Seconds to Mars fan, still love the first 3 albums. And he seemed like a solid guy from the interviews I had seen back in the day. Over time though I started to realize how pretentious he is. Like he has some Bono complex. He sees himself like some profound artist who is changing the world. Yep, I used to be a Leto fan as well. Turns out he's a huge douche. I used to admire Mitch Hedberg. I still do. But I used to, too. Bill Cosby. I'm not sure if those asking for why are being serious. But I'll go ahead and add it. Because I grew up with his comedy in The Cosby Show and absolutely loved him. When the accusations against him started to come out I gave him the benefit of the doubt for as long as I could. There was just too much evidence against him. Broke my heart. Eminem. I once waited for him with my little brother after a show for 4 hours in the blistering cold. And he just said no. That was pretty shitty but I ain't that mad though. I just don't like being lied to. I met him once in Denver and he told me if I wrote him, he'd wrote me back. I know he got my last 2 letters. I wrote the addresses on them perfect. Hyde was my favorite character on that 70s show. But now Danny Masterson is a rapist Scientologist. So fuck that noise. Edit. Hey look. Evidence from today, https://tonautiga. Org the 7th of August 2021 evidence from Danny Masterson's preliminary hearing ed on CAD CH7 in Los Angeles. I was looking for this one. It was really disappointing. Kinda not much of a celebrity but this guy Ryan Haywood from the YouTube channel Achievement Hunter was like my favorite member growing up. He was funny, put on a villain persona a lot and seemed like a good father. Turns out he was a pedophile who used his fame to convince young fans to sleep with him. Bastard even used his money from his Twitch channel to pay for flights for them and hotel rooms when he told everyone all the money from his Twitch was going to his kids' college funds. James Corden. I used to think his self-deprecating style and his ingenuity with comedy and the couple karaoke idea were great. Then I saw story after story from fan encounters where he is a complete and utter douche. Now that I know he's a fake, his shtick is unwatchable. Edit. As one responder pointed out, I forgot about the time he played the question game with Jimmy Kimmel and couldn't name 2 of his own cameramen. Edit 2. Apparently, couple karaoke was ripped off from somewhere else. And he's not even really driving. So he's gone from douche to hack fake douche. LOL. Edit 2. 1. As some users have pointed out, it's safer to film with a driving rig so I won't hold that against him. He's back to just a hack douche. Had a friend who worked for him and he's just not a nice guy. Nothing crazy and over the top. Just rude and disrespectful with an overinflated sense of importance. Ellen DeGeneres. I thought she was really wholesome. And watching her show used to make me feel warm and fuzzy but then I started getting really soul-leeching sort of vibes from her and now it just feels like she's using people. I'm sure it's always been like that. I mean, she's there to be paid to entertain people. After all. I'm sorry I don't have concrete examples but I get real psychic vampire vibes from her. A cute la Colin Robinson from What We Do in the Shadows. She basically forced Mariah Carey to admit she was pregnant by offering her champagne on the show and refusing to back down without an explanation. And Mariah Carey went on to have a miscarriage weeks later. Which is just terrible. You should never make women admit they're pregnant before they're ready and especially not for the views of your TV show. Lost Profits fans win this thread. Mario Batali. Loved him as a chef. Seemed like a good guy. Funny. Jovial. Decent. And don't get me wrong, he comes from a generation of dick chefs so I expected him to have some skeletons in his closet. But sexual assault is a bridge too far. A generation of dick chefs. Worst kind of chefs. Fact. Joss Whedon. Loved his shows. His writing style. And the surface stuff like his stance on feminism were worth admiring. 2. Turns out, he's at best a complete prick. The recent and not so recent stuff that came out about him was infuriating. Surprise, nobody mentioned O.J. Simpson. Superstar celebrity athlete and actor. Nobody could run through an airport like O.J. Loved him in the conspiracy movie Capricorn 1. Most Redditors aren't old enough to remember him as a player. Hell, I'm 42 and never saw him play. Remember that it's 27 years since the murder trial. And he was an actor for years between his football career and the trial. He last played in 1979. Gwyneth Paltrow. I scrolled for a long time and was surprised not to see her name. Her bullshit pseudo-health anti-vax information she spreads is terribly incorrect and cringeworthy. It's sad how many people are actually influenced by it as well. Deleted. Jeffree Star. I used to think he was really cool. He was super nice when I met him, for being self-made. Not tolerating the haters. And his whole message about being yourself was so appealing to me. Then I found out about all the stuff he's allegedly done. Combined with how he doesn't take any accountability and shifts the blame around ruined him for me. A friend of mine defended him saying he apologized for the racism and I'm like, what about everything since then? Also any beauty guru who uses his products on camera. I get that you can't unbuy a product but you don't have to keep pushing him. I haven't watched beauty YouTube in a while but even while the various bullshit has been going on people were still going and here I'm using my Jeffree palette. James Charles. Any grooming situation honestly makes me sick. The fact that they were a part of it made me so angry. The only time I ever hear about this guy is when he's giving another apology for shit behavior lol. If anyone has any dirt on Keanu, Mr. Rogers, or Bob Ross you just keep that shit to yourself. Beyonce. How all her songs were about woman empowerment and IRL she's paying Sri Lankan children pennies to make clothes and turning them into millions back home. Could never look at her in a different light after knowing this. Destiny's childish behavior. I grew up in an era where Bill Cosby was the wholesome, upright family comedian. I listened to his stand-up on cassette tapes for gosh sake. Finding out that he was a scumbag and had been for a long time was sad. Same. I'm glad my dad passed away long before it all came to light. He loved his stand-up about being a dad and would quote his favorite jokes often. Drake. Guy puts out the same generic music year in, year out. And his advances on Millie Bobby Brown have me wondering if he's deliberately obtuse to the optics of the situation. He did the same to Billie Eilish too when she was 16-17 as far as I'm aware. Real sketchy guy. Santa Claus. He always gave rich kids better gifts. Marilyn Manson. He always seemed like a really chill dude behind the cameras. His concerts were fun to attend and everybody talked about what a nice guy he was. Turns out he'd been abusing his girlfriends for years. I was so disappointed to hear of his abuse allegations because he seemed to be one of the only rational and level-headed people about the whole rock music corrupts kids narrative after Columbine. Turns out he was just a misogynistic asshole to all the women in his life. Pass. Tom Cruise. Scrolled for a while and didn't see him. Dude went bonkers into Scientology. The shit he did to his exes is, to me, akin to what Britney Spears is going through. Sire. Because of her movie music. Oh god. I just got a quick look at the reviews. And oh my god. Who greenlighted that? Demi Lovato. They act like everyone is responsible for their triggers. Taylor Swift isn't fatphobic for drinking Diet Coke. A froyo shop isn't fat shaming people for offering diabetic friendly options. The worst part is that Demi has also supported using detox skinny teas but then says that these people are promoting eating disorders. Serious, is there anyone who has survived being one of Disney's child stars without becoming a twisted adult? All the names I can think of grew up into monsters. Died. Or ended up warped and pitiable. Edit. Today I got a repeat lesson in selection bias. To the people commenting with just a name and I think everybody knows why. Please assume that people don't know why and give at least a few words of explanation. There's people I haven't even heard of in this thread. Quentin Tarantino. I just heard his interview on the Howard Stern show. And he was defending Roman Polanski in the worst ways. Saying she wanted it. She bragged about it. Etc. The girl never wanted it or asked for it. And Polanski was 43 while she was 13. As disgusting as Howard and his crew can be at times. They were clearly in horror cause they gave him chance after chance to realize how fucked up his line of thinking was. But he wasn't having it. Edit. The whole thing with Roman Polanski starts at 8:22. https://yahoo. BG3MZT2K. This is as bad as it gets. TW for anyone who suffered abuse. He did make a comment about it years later. I want to publicly apologize to Samantha Geimer for my cavalier remarks on the Howard Stern show speculating about her and the crime that was committed against her. He wrote. 15 years later. I realize how wrong I was. Ms. Geimer was raped by Roman Polanski. When Howard brought up Polanski, I incorrectly played devil's advocate in the debate for the sake of being provocative. I didn't take Ms. Geimer's feelings into consideration, and for that I am truly sorry. So, Ms. Geimer, I was ignorant. And insensitive. And above all, incorrect. I looked up to Sharon Osbourne for being an unflappable businesswoman. Manager extraordinaire who wasn't afraid to call out Tommy Lee for being abusive to women. Now I read about her behavior and opinions and they can be horrendous. She's literally the only reason Ozzy is still alive today, but damn if she isn't an awful person otherwise. Bojack Horseman. He used to be big and horsing around. But honestly he is a douche in person. Butch, I made your childhood. Took your money. Cured your autism. Traced your art. Converted you to Christianity. And sneered at your criticisms, Hartman. He did all that? That can only be the work of fairy godparents. I used to watch Craig Thompson on YouTube a lot, but then he distanced himself from a group of creators he worked with. Then it was revealed that he was a manipulative shit who did text some inappropriate stuff to underage fans. He didn't properly apologize and he was even given a second chance, but he didn't change. He lost everything. I used to like Andy Dick and his style of quirky comedy. Then I found out that he was, in fact, a dick. Didn't he get Phil Hartman's wife back on drugs, to which he eventually killed Phil Hartman? That's why John Lovitz punched him in the face. Bill Murray. He beat his ex-wife up and threatened to have her killed. He's no different than Chris Brown. Is that the difficult divorce he was going through while filming Groundhog Day and breaking his long friendship with Harold Ramis? Mario Lopez. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and there is a move called Neon Belly which is exactly what it sounds like. Typically when you're training, you don't go full force because it's an arsehole move, especially when you're training. Well, Mario was at my gym one day and he decided to go full force on me, and I heard some snap, crackle and pop sounds coming from my ribs which led to my rolling around on the floor for a bit. He never checked on me or apologized for doing that. It takes a special kind of human to lack that much empathy to completely ignore someone writhing in pain that you clearly inflicted. Ever since then I can physically feel my blood pressure rise whenever I see Extra or Access Hollywood or whatever crappy show he hosts. The post clearly says why and everyone here just doesn't explain it and say you know why. Like what? No, I don't. Assume it's accusations of sexual misconduct. You'll be right 99% of the time. Roman Polanski. I saw The Pianist when I was very young and it was one of the first movies I saw that taught me just how powerful movies could be. It kicked off my love of film. Then I read about what he did to that child. Sick fuck belongs in prison. For me, it was the celebs who signed that he's an artist. So he should be above the law letter. Kat Von D. I thought she was so pretty and a talented tattoo artist. She's just a racist anti-vax nut job. Mark Salling. Puck from Glee. Admired him a lot for his talent when the show was popular. He pleaded guilty to CP charges. Could never support or look at him the same way again. Same. I read his court transcript and I legit wanted to vomit. Not only did he had more than 50,000 images and 600 videos of CP, but turns out he also had a fucking guide on how to rape a girl between the ages of 3-6 years. Rolf Harris. Eater, Australian-born British children's entertainer. He turned out to be a nonce. Yet this is the one for me also. He was every bit the wholesome entertainer. I loved watching Rolf's Cartoon Club as a kid. Now I know he's just another scumbag who used his fame to harm others. I used to love Marlon Brando until I heard of that infamous butter scene and what really happened in it. The Mountain from Got was in Iceland recently and the tour guide said locals have a very low opinion of him on account of him being a wife beater and all. Edit. I'm referring to Bjornsson. Forgot there was more than one actor for the character. No lie. I've never seen Game of Thrones and I thought you were talking about an actual mountain that people were negative about. Got real confused for a while there. John Wilkes Booth. What a great actor, where did it go so wrong for him? Sad pensive face. He got political. That rarely ends well. Conor McGregor. Because of a lot of incidents including sucker punching an old man at a bar and mocking his rival's recently deceased father and a bunch more things. Just being an all-around bitter nasty guy nowadays. I used to love Parker Posey. Then she was in town filming a movie and was out shopping at an antique store and let her dog take a shit on the floor and left without cleaning it up. Not such a fan now. Honestly, Lea Michele. I used to think all the diva stuff was just nasty rumors. I loved her performances on Glee but hated her character. Turns out it was not a character. Dr. Phil. I wasn't the biggest fan but I did admire him. It's been a few weeks since I learned how he treats those vulnerable people in his asylums, ranches. Edit. I'm not a native English speaker and have limited vocabulary so I couldn't find the perfect word to define his ranches. I'm sorry if anyone is offended because of this. Alexa Vega. The girl from Spy Kids. She shills essential oils as part of an MLM and I don't support that type of stuff at all. Especially from influencing people. I'm not big on real celebs but I've seen some people say internet celebrities so for me it was Ryan Hayward from Achievement Hunter. I thought he was a really funny guy and was just the do-it-all dad guy who had a morbid sense of humor and drank Diet Coke. Finding out he was taking advantage of his fans. Some underage. And using money donated to him on stream meant for his kids' college fund to meet up with some of those girls and cheat on his wife was just terrible. I feel so bad for his victims and the people who thought they knew him. Elon Musk. How he treats his workers. Just because he is a bit funny on Twitter. He's no better than Jeff Bezos on how he treats his employees. How he treated his first wife is creepy. Article she wrote about their relationship if anyone is interested. https://www. Mericlaire.com sex lover 5380/millionaire starter wife. Conor McGregor. I used to enjoy his fights and his persona. But the more losses he racks up, the more vulgar and desperate he seems to be. There was this YouTuber Mini Lad. I watched Vanos and his friends a lot in high school. Then Mini Lad decided to sexually harass minors and treat his friends like crap. Steve Jobs. I admired him for being the best in technology and always looking forward. When I realized he left his wife behind because she had cancer. And he refused normal medical treatment for his own cancer and was a bad father too. Jesse Lacey from Brand New. They were my favorite band and he used to frequent my ex's bagel deli. She got me a personalized autograph when he came in once and it made my day. But then it came out he was soliciting underage girls and he used the old sex addiction excuse. Huge bummer. Morrissey. I related to his music in a pretty big way as he seemed to embrace being the weird outsider who didn't relate so much to traditional roles and behavior. He was funny, bookish, and seemed custom made for outcasts and underdogs. But he grew into a bitter old racist xenophobe who can't stop talking horrible shit that goes completely against my values. And what I'm willing to tolerate in another human being. So Morrissey can eat the poo-poo. I didn't really admire him but I gained a huge deal of respect for Marilyn Manson after he appeared on Bowling for Columbine where he provided some gripping social commentary and he said if he were given the chance to meet the shooters of the Columbine massacre, all he would do was listen to what they had to say which no one else did. I was like, whoa. Looks can be deceiving can't they? Then I read about all his sexual assault allegations and poof all my respect for him evaporated. Jenny McCarthy. Vaccines are evil, they made my child autistic, she had no scientific evidence to back up her claims. Gets tons of press and harms untold children. Turns out her son did not have autism. Oops. Nas Daily. He enticed a century-old woman into signing a contract that would teach the rest of the world the dying art of tattooing the Kalinga way without explaining the terms behind the contract. I see it as an exploitation of the Kalinga culture. Commercializing its traditions. This is also why he lost at least 20 million followers on his page. Joss Whedon. Buffy is still my favorite show of all time. And I used to really admire Joss Whedon for making something I love so much. But since hearing the way he treated Charisma Carpenter and his wife, I just think he sounds like a nasty spiteful human. It's disappointing. Bill Cosby. Because he is a rapist. Elizabeth Moss. She's amazing in Handmaid's Tale. Except she's a fucking Scientologist. How do you make a TV show about a rape cult while being in a rape cult? Inside knowledge. Lance Armstrong. Read his book It's Not About the Bike, which inspired me to go into oncology as a new nurse. A few years later he divorced his wife, started dating Sheryl Crow, and was stripped of his Tour de France titles for steroid use. Just lost a lot of respect. And it made me sad. Fun fact, my dad used to work for Trek Bicycles. They're one of the biggest bike manufacturers in the world and the former sponsor of Lance Armstrong. One day Lance comes to the headquarters to give a speech to the people who do the dirty work in a manner of speaking. My dad was told by one of his bosses that Lance requested that no one who worked there go near him. Ask him direct questions. Ask for autographs. Take photos. Basically breathe the same air as him. My dad from there on out hated the man, and I completely understand. My dad also believes when in 1999 when Lance was first caught doping that Trek helped cover it up. By the way, for a good story about a cyclist, Greg LeMond is super cool according to my dad, and he's done a lot of advocacy for anti-doping. Joss Whedon. Brilliant writer. Serial harasser. Bam Margera. He was the coolest dude on planet Earth when I was growing up. It's not that I've lost admiration for him due to alcohol problems. I think anyone who overcomes alcoholism is badass. He just seems different. I really do feel sorry for him and hope he finds physical and mental health and happiness in the future. I guess that's what losing a best friend does. Rip Ryan Dunn. And being filthy rich. Surrounded by yes men and enablers. I used to respect Chrissy Teigen for being real as a celebrity. But I found out about the cruel DMs she had been sending to Courtney Stodden, the child whose parents basically sold them to an older man who paid for a bunch of cosmetic surgery and kept Courtney drugged up. Chrissy verbally harassed Courtney, telling them to kill themselves repeatedly, while Courtney was being sexually traumatized by their 51-year-old husband. Edited for pronoun accuracy. Shane Dawson. I liked his conspiracy theory videos, and when his old comments that were racist promoted bestiality and pedophilia came up, it ruined him for me. I always got weird vibes from him but didn't really want to say anything during his conspiracy era because people were obsessed with him again. And well, everyone knows how that goes. Minilad. First he left his friends and talked shit to them, then his whole channel started to go downhill. I was just getting into football around the time that Robert Griffin III won the Heisman Trophy and took Washington to the playoffs for the first time in a long time. After his knee injury and unceremonious departure from the team, I always secretly rooted for him to find success somewhere else in the NFL. Years later I found out about the way he treated his first wife, mother of his first child, and I can't support him anymore. Garrison Keillor. I loved his writing and radio show. He seemed like a genuine down-to-earth person from Lake Wobegon, but it turns out he's just another creep from the real world. Tyra Banks. I thought she was a progressive girl boss. The older I get, the more I realize that she's kind of a bully and bitter. Even the stuff she did on America's Next Top Model can come off as pointlessly cruel. Woody Allen. Child molester and married his adopted daughter. Kevin Spacey. It's a confusing one. I despise him for what he's done, but I still watch his movies and House of Cards and am absolutely amazed at his performances. Makes me uncomfortable that I'm still enjoying the acting. Any associated with Scientology. Scientology is why I never got around to watching The Handmaid's Tale. Lead actress is huge into Scientology and it seems so fucking ironic, given what the show is about. Andrew Cuomo. I genuinely liked the guy and even thought he should run for president. Now I wouldn't trust him with my sister. Also screwed up the handling of senior citizen places for the pandemic. Amitabh Bachchan, an Indian actor. He was the coolest person for me when I was young. Loved his action movies and the fighting scenes in them. But one day I found out he prompted killing of Sikhs after the Indian Prime Minister was assassinated. He said blood for blood over the radio. It hurt because I'm a Sikh person. You can Google 1984 Sikh genocide or read this. http://m. Times of India. com/10,429,011. CMS. UTM source equals content of interest and UTM medium equals text and UTM campaign equals CPPST. Reading through this, it almost seems like most celebrities are sex offenders. Bald and bankrupt. When I discovered his channel I couldn't stop watching his videos. He always came across as caring and genuine guy and always made seemingly boring things exciting. He recently took hiatus from his YouTube channel, so I went to see if he had a subreddit which could provide an insight to his absence. Instead I came across our Bald and Baldra dossier, which basically exposes Bald and Bankerat for being a sex predator, who only visits the former Soviet states for, in his words, easy sex. Also, he would have been put away for gang rape had the victim not been too scared to testify. So overall, who was a great YouTuber is now a massive piece of shit in my eyes. Beyonce claims to fight for justice yet has factories in third world countries where employees are underpaid. Jenny McCarthy. I was about 14 when she became a public figure, and her being in Playboy all the time was great. So there was that. Plus she was super fun on Singled Out. She seemed cool. But the anti-vax bullshit and the damage she has wrought is inexcusable, and I have no respect for her. Dr. Mike on YouTube. He had a big party on his birthday disregarding COVID guidelines, despite being a huge influence on 7 million subscribers. Eventually he put out an apology video on his, much smaller, second channel. He was well known enough to get Posey to do a candle with him. Removed. I was a 90s teen who would listen to Marilyn Manson literally every single day, and I honestly thought his most recent album was some of his best stuff to date. But since the recent allegations against him turned out to be credible, no more. While that music and aesthetic was a formative part of my life growing up and partly made me the person I am today, no more. I'm done. Skinny Puppy is a better band. Anyway. Conor McGregor. His story of almost quitting MMA and being a plumber like his dad, to then getting a chance in the UFC and going on a tear all the way to getting 2 titles was very inspiring. He was always shit talking, but at times it seemed he was just doing it for entertainment. After his success, and a few incidents and rumors like cheating on his GF, raping a woman, punching an old guy in a bar, throwing a chair on a bus, and just constantly bragging about money, I realized the guy is just a major dick. I still am a huge Kiss fan. Seen them twice and even met Paul and Gene. But watching Gene Simmons talk like an asshole and basically put down the people who helped him become who he is, I now just idolize the characters over the actual guys. Kevin Spacey. I used to admire the shit out of his acting skills and still do. But then the allegations came out about his inappropriate relationships with youngish boys. His excuse in the apology? Oh. I'm gay. Sorry dude. That's not gonna fly. I don't care about the gay part. But implicitly trying to use that as a reason to forgive the other? Just, no. Ryan Giggs. Thought he was the consummate professional footballer. Only for his to be a shitbag. Matt Lauer. Yet another celebrity that likes to lock women in his office so he can sexually harass them.